Hello, my name is Tim Phillips, and welcome to my Rationale video for the Boise State Edtech program. I have worked in a rural western Alaska school district for the past 4 years. 3 of the years were in a classroom teaching social studies, and the past year has been working in a district office in the instruction department, in a job that I would not have been qualified for without the instruction I received through the Edtech program at Boise State. Teaching in Alaska has its difficulties. For one thing, there are no roads to our village. The only way in is by boat or by plane. And the cost of coming and going is high enough that traveling out does not happen too often. Upon arriving at the school, I was pleasantly surprised to find that I would be teaching in a one-to-one school equipped with Apple laptops. I have always had a love of technology, and I had high hopes for using laptops in class. However, I soon discovered that the students didn't really have a desire to use their laptops for academic purposes. They preferred to use them to download movies and music. I realized early on that if I wanted them to use their laptops effectively in class, I needed to know not just how to use technology, but how to use it effectively in a classroom setting. This led to my search to Boise State University and to the Edtech program. Throughout the program, I have focused my studies on distance and blended learning, and centered a lot of my assignments around Google Apps for Education and Moodle. Many of my artifacts are examples of applying the material I learned in class towards an aspect of Google Apps integration and/or professional development. My purpose for this was centered on bringing the classroom to the student. Attendance wasn't very good in the school I taught in. Students often missed a week or two at a time, and I thought it was important to try to use online resources to make assignments and resources available to them so they could access their work when they were ready. Here's an example of a classroom website that I created to help my students access the materials that we learned in class. Now, this particular website I created using Google Sites during a pilot year that we were using it at our school, and I used it specifically for U.S. civics, but I also used it for U.S. history and middle school history as well. But when students came into the classroom each day, they logged in to the Google account and were presented with this web page here. They would usually go in, they would click on their class. Let's take an example of civics. And in the civics class, I really liked the idea here of being able to post a syllabus so the students could be able to see it and have access to it. This really helped out refresh students' memories of what they signed at the beginning of the school year, so I was really happy to use that in the classroom throughout the school year. One thing that was really helpful for students when it came to knowing what to do was accessing the Google Calendar. Now, it's empty at the moment, but what I would do is each day when I would teach in class, I would take the title of that lesson and I would post it to the Google Calendar. And this was really cool because the students would access the calendar via their mobile phones or their iPads or their computers, and they would see what they missed. Now, in the material that I taught each day, I posted a lot of it to Google Docs. So a lot of it was hyperlinked. So they could just come to the calendar, they could click on the assignment that we learned that day, and it would take them right to the details of what was going on. And if it didn't highlight it or hyperlink it, then they could come to the assignments page, and here they would have access to whatever assignments they were missing. A lot of times, like I said, they were linked to Google Drive, so they could go here and click on the link here on the right side and pull down that assignment, complete it on their computer, and then resubmit it all from their computer or their iOS device. At the beginning of each class, students would come in and they had to complete some sort of a bell ringer or review assignment, and I converted that to an online assignment when I instituted this classroom website. Students would come in, they would log in with their account, they would sit down and they would complete 2 to 3 questions, either something that we talked about yesterday or something that we were going to talk about and I wanted to get their opinions or get them to think about something. And then they would click submit and it would submit their scores, and I'd be able to create those later. So it was a great way for students to access the material, that they'd either missed or might miss if they were going to be gone in the future. And it was a great way for students to connect with the material that we learned in class. As I think of my overall theme of distance learning, one of the thoughts brings me back to Edtech 506, Graphic Design for Learning. Edtech 506 taught me the beginning skills of design. In the final project for that course, I created a professional development lesson covering Google Apps for Education. I used the topics covered in the course to design all the aspects of the training. I created a website to display the lessons. I built the website in Dreamweaver using the skills I learned in Edtech 502. One of the assignments in this course covered organization. For this assignment, I created a paper flyer for my professional development lesson. I tried to make it clean and easy to read and follow the rules of contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. I also tried to stay with the Google theme of bright colors. I used the same colors for the Google logo to highlight the steps below. I also combined a series of Google images to serve as bullets for the flyers. This class was great for me. I never had the opportunity to give the professional development as an actual class like I thought I would. However, I did give a modified version to administrators. I tried to follow the same design principles when I created the professional development, which took the form of a presentation during a meeting. Additionally, I used the same principles when creating tutorials and how-tos for staff members. The next assignment I would like to highlight is my final project for Edtech 512, Online Course Design. For my final project, I was required to build a fully functional online course. I had the opportunity to choose from whatever service I wanted to build my site. I decided to use Moodle because my school district uses it in some of our courses. I was unable to build my course on my school district servers, so I built it on the Boise State Edtech Moodle sandbox site. I admit that it took me a while to figure out how Moodle works. It essentially has a number of tools or utilities that you can add to your page which give your course different functionality. I learned that you are limited to how much you can do to customize the look of the site without applying CSS to your template. This was something that I didn't really want to do, so I stayed with its default settings. The Moodle course is a direct copy of one of my traditional face-to-face courses. I essentially took the same assignments and activities from one unit and added them to Moodle. In order to make it clean and easy to navigate, I added pictures and a short description to each lesson and added numbers to each assignment to denote in which order to do them. I also named each assignment the same way as they are named in the face-to-face class, so the students who had already taken a class from me would find the naming scheme familiar. After having finished Edtech 512 and learning about learning theory, I don't think I would design my course the same way again. For one thing, I patterned this Moodle course after a traditional face-to-face course. The only difference between this course and attending in person is that the assignments in the Moodle course are all online. My Moodle course feels like it is nothing more than a list of items to check off. Classes really shouldn't be taught that way. It should be engaging and interactive. When attending in person, one gets the experience, the back and forth of classroom discussion, and how a teacher can emphasize certain aspects of the information. I realize that online courses typically don't have teachers present at each lesson. However, I believe that one can counter their effects by designing a course with that in mind from the very beginning. Which brings me to the last assignment I would like to highlight. That is the final synthesis paper for Edtech 504, Theory of Educational Technology. The Edtech 504 course asked students to write a research paper based on learning theory and apply it to the field of educational technology. For this assignment, I chose to revert back to my theme of distance learning and write about how one can improve it. Throughout the semester of this course, I learned two things that I believe are very important to the success of online distance education. They are the constructionist learning theory and the theory of transactional distance. In basic terms, the constructivist learning theory is based on the idea that through experiential learning, through real-life experiences, one constructs knowledge. It encourages learning by discovery, hands-on, collaboration, and project-based activities. The learning theory really sat well with me and my style of teaching. In my opinion, students learn better by doing rather than simply by listening. There is just something about applying the information that has been presented to you that helps it stick in your mind. The theory of transactional distance was first created by Michael Moore of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. His findings have shown that there is a psychological and communicative separation between students and the teacher and students and the learning material, which he calls transactional distance. He says that transactional distance needs to be decreased if effective learning of a student is to occur. This is significant for distance education because there are both literal and figurative distances between the student and the teacher and the student and the learning material. In my research paper, I argue that the combination of these two theories can improve distance learning if they are applied when designing the course. Activities should be designed to have students interact with the learning material and create or produce something with it. Additionally, modules should be designed so that the instructor interacts with the students and students with other students often. This can be done by use of discussion forums, blogs, wikis, group work, or any other activity that requires the students to interact with their classmates and their teacher. Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to apply either of these learning theories as a teacher. I learned them after leaving the classroom. However, I talked about them often when I mentored other teachers and helped them design their classroom Moodle or Google websites. I have learned so many great things over the past 2 years. A year ago, I was asked to work as an educational specialist at the school district office. I believe that the skills I learned through the Boise State Edtech program allowed me to have this opportunity. While working in the capacity, I have had a great opportunity to work directly with Google Apps and Moodle in an administrator role and to help teachers design and start classroom websites and blended learning environments. I believe the future of education is in distance learning, and that the better we prepare for it now, the better our students will be in the future.